Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful day. I want to discuss a topic that has a lot of gray area and that is really defining for the workplace, especially with all the transitions with remote work and virtual assignments as well as the brick and mortar. The topic is leaders and managers. There is a huge difference in leaders and managers and how they operate with and for one another. And when you know the difference, you can understand your own capabilities, what you're good at, how you can grow, how you can become better. Also, you can understand those around you. When you understand the different criteria or the different aspects of leaders, the different aspects of managers, it helps you navigate situations, it helps you navigate people, and it truly helps you understand your qualities and abilities. And the reason you want to know the difference and the reason you want to know what a leader looks like, what a manager looks like, so that you can understand if you're in the right role, so that you can understand maybe you need to change your situation, your assignment, your position, and maybe look for something different. I think one of the greatest examples that I've heard lately is Fantasia, and um, they of course they've been in the news and they've been in the media because they're promoting their new movie, The Color Purple. And what I like about what I've heard on one of the interviews I've heard Fantasia in is that her former record label did not know what to do with her because her talent was unique. It was very specific and they didn't know what type of music to give her. They didn't understand where she fit in. And because they didn't understand her, she wasn't utilized properly. Her talents and her skills were really undermined because they didn't know what to do with her. So when we're looking at some of the ways managers produce and then some of the ways leaders produce, we could break it down. So let's first look at managers. When we look at managers and the way they produce and how they're consistent with what they deliver, we're looking at planning and we're looking at budgeting. When we look at that, it's from the lens of establishing agendas, set timetables, allocate resources. Then, parallel to that, we're looking at leaders and how they are establishing the direction. Not necessarily planning, but they establish the direction. They create a vision. They clarify the big picture. They set the strategies. And then, if you want to break it down even more, we're looking at organizing and staffing from the management perspective. They provide structure, they make job placements, they establish rules and procedure. And then, if you translate that as far as what does that look like from the leadership perspective? What leaders do, they align the people. So they are people centric, they communicate the goals, set commitment, they build teams and coalitions. Then going back to management, controlling and problem solving. They develop initiatives, create solutions, and take corrective action. And then leaders, they motivate, they inspire and energize, they empower the followers and satisfy unmet needs. And this diagram or this figure, if you will, came from the book Leadership, Theory and Practice by Peter Northouse. And the way that I like this and why I like this so much is the way it's broken down. Because as leaders, you have to understand what the requirement is that's being asked of you and how you're supposed to execute it. Because the assignment that you're given can truly look different from what your natural propensity is. I never forget in the corporate, when I was in the corporate world, there was assignments and tasks that I was given that leaned a lot towards management. And by nature, by my own instinct, my natural inclination is toward leadership. I lean heavy into leadership. So, leaders, I ask you, do you know what components of your team are comprised of managers and what are comprised of leaders? What I will say is that once you understand what individuals are better at, you can tailor their assignments towards their strengths. There are some people that are great at budgets. There are some people that are great at getting commitments from others in the organization, getting the buy-in. So what does that look like? What does that look like for your leaders? And how can you lean in to what they are great at so that you can get the best out of them and honestly, so they can succeed in their role? So, when we're looking at managers and when we're looking at leaders, both are needed. So, I want to make that distinction that both are needed in an organization in order for you to thrive. If you want to thrive, you have to have both. You can't have just a school of leaders with no managers, and you can't have just a school of managers and no leaders. So, if you're an educational leader, what does that look like in your organization? What does that look like if you, as the principal, you as the dean of students, you as the president, you as the superintendent, what does that look like for you? Are you better at managing, where you set timetables, where you make job placements, where that is what you're good at? You're good at the structure, the control, the managing, the planning. Are you good at that? Or are you the leader that's able to cast the vision, create the vision, set the strategies? What does that look like? Are you able to hone a product and deliver it where everyone is committed and they're fully empowered? You have to be able to understand what you're truly able and capable of doing and what those functions look like. And the better that you're able to do that, you're able to commit to making a strong and relevant change in your organization. I'll give you another example. I will never forget when I was in the military, they have these dynamics of the manager and leader, just as I explained earlier. And in the military, there's a lot of times where you have to operate in both roles. And I never forget, especially during deployments, there is truly dichotomy as far as what's needed and how it's executed, the structure and the execution. So it's the command and the control, the vision and the mission, and how those two work together, because they're in different columns, but they have to be executed simultaneously. So I'll give you a perfect example. We were deployed and we had to go out on several missions that were very time sensitive, that needed certain resources allocated towards the mission. There was a structure that was provided in the mission. But at the same time, our leaders, we as leaders, had to inspire and energize the soldiers in order to fulfill the commitment. We as leaders had to communicate the goals of the strategies that we had to accomplish. And of course, we had to create the vision of what needed to be accomplished. And of course, the picture was humongous because you had several people that were in logistics now having to tap into something completely different and take on roles that were not their normal responsibility. And so then you have to go back to the management. How do you manage that? You have to put people in job placements. And we were assigned so many times in roles and jobs that weren't customary for us, but it had to be organized and staffed appropriately. So, there again, I lead you right back to where we started. Educational leaders. Who do we have in our organization? What are their strengths? What are they good at? Do you have managers and leaders? Do you have a good mixture of both? And do you have those that have a natural lean, a natural propensity to one or the other? If you do, know what category they fit in so you can get the best out of your people. Well, thank you for tuning in. This is Yvette Jet, and I am the Strategic Leadership Coach. And I help educational leaders thrive in their organization. I help educational leaders be directed and guided so that you are better for the scholar. Because what you have and what you need is already within you. And I just help you to unlock that. Because every great leader needs a great coach. Have a great day. This is Coach Vet Jet. Bye for now.